Reading the title of this might lead someone to think it's about the detailed techniques of intimate oral affection brought to you by experts. However, this discussion is really about sharing that experience with your partner, about learning to truly understand and respond to their needs and desires. It's about the importance of communication, patience, and the joy that comes from giving in a way that's meaningful and satisfying to both. Have you ever wanted something for a special occasion, a birthday, Christmas, or just because, and tried dropping hints to those close to you? You hoped they'd pick up on your subtle clues and bring you exactly what you had in mind. Then the day arrives, and you unwrap a gift that wasn't quite what you expected or wanted. The awkwardness of this moment is universal because you're expected to be grateful for the effort and the thoughtfulness, even if it missed the mark. And on the other side is the gift giver, who might have been sure they were doing the right thing, expecting appreciation for their choice. This little dance of giving and receiving can feel a bit disingenuous at times. We've all experienced it in some form, and it reminds us that no matter how much we care, without clear communication, misunderstandings are inevitable. In many ways, intimate moments between partners can reflect this dynamic. You might assume that because you love each other, you naturally understand each other's desires and boundaries. But the truth is, without open and honest communication, assumptions create gaps where frustration and dissatisfaction build. This is particularly true in the realm of physical affection, where preferences, comfort levels, and even what brings true pleasure can vary widely even between two people who love each other deeply. Let me take you back to a time long ago, to the 1970s, when we were in our early 20s and dating. We weren't practicing Christians at the time, so the openness to exploring intimacy was shaped by the culture and our youthful enthusiasm. Excitement and hormones fueled our curiosity, making every experience thrilling no matter what it was. Discretion was less of a concern then, and we found ourselves finding private moments in unexpected places. Oral affection was just one of the many ways we expressed closeness, and it felt natural and satisfying. Being able to bring each other to peaks of pleasure using just our mouths was an amazing connection. But as the novelty wore off and we spent more time together, it became clear that not everything was pleasurable or comfortable. Sometimes things felt awkward, or certain actions weren't quite enjoyable. The response for many is avoidance, stopping what doesn't feel right without discussing it, in order to avoid discomfort or hurt feelings. Over time, this can narrow the range of shared experiences, limiting physical connection to only what feels safe or familiar. This is why sexual or intimate communication is so important. It means both people can honestly say what they want and also truly listen to their partner's wishes. It's not just about expressing your desires, but about receiving theirs with openness and respect. When you communicate clearly and lovingly, you create a space where both partners feel seen, heard, and valued. And when you make it your goal to give what brings joy and satisfaction to the other, the whole experience deepens. For us, giving pleasure without the expectation of immediate return became one of the most thrilling and loving parts of our relationship. We often found ourselves caught up in moments where one partner was fully engaged in providing pleasure with such focus and enthusiasm that the other's responses, gasps, moans, tightening muscles became fuel that set both of us aflame with desire. Even in less traditional settings, like laying on a mattress on the floor or sneaking intimate moments on a couch, the connection was electric. The act itself became about the joy of giving and the shared experience of physical and emotional closeness. One of the biggest mistakes couples can make is to think that once you've learned the basics, or after you've been together a while, there's nothing new to discover. Assuming you know all there is about your partner's body and what gives them pleasure is a trap. People grow and change as time goes on, and so do their preferences and needs. Expecting your partner to be satisfied with the same thing forever limits the possibility for deeper intimacy and shared joy. Life inevitably gets in the way: work, family responsibilities, children, homes to take care of, and even the pressure of social expectations. Privacy becomes scarce, and those moments of close connection can seem harder to find. Our relationship continued to evolve as we got married and built a life together full of these complexities. At some point, our spiritual life deepened as we became members of a church and sought guidance through our faith. However, this sometimes introduced another layer of complexity. Ideas about what is right and wrong around intimacy, often influenced by others' opinions rather than personal truth. While good counsel can be valuable, it's important to discern and focus on what genuinely supports the health and happiness of your relationship. I recall girlfriends who disliked giving oral affection so much that it led to shutting down intimate connection completely with their husbands. On the other side, I heard from friends who felt defeated and unattractive because no matter what they did, it seemed their efforts fell short of expectations. These stories underline the importance of honest communication and creating an environment of mutual respect and encouragement. Marriage is often described as a monogamous union, including in the physical sense. It means that you are the primary source of emotional and physical satisfaction for each other, which is a beautiful yet challenging responsibility. When one partner's needs are unmet, whether due to discomfort, misunderstanding, or unwillingness, it can open the door to resentment, emotional distance, or even thoughts of seeking satisfaction elsewhere. This highlights the critical role each person plays in tending to the other's needs, not simply giving what feels easy or preferred, but giving what is genuinely needed. Through many conversations and honest sharing, what we now call our intimate revolution, we discovered new dimensions in our relationship. This process brought patience, understanding, and a willingness to explore beyond initial comfort zones. It wasn't always easy. It involved uncensored honesty about what turns each of us on, what boundaries exist, and moments of vulnerability. We learned that sometimes people hide their true desires during the dating phase because they fear judgment, wanting to make a good impression or avoid seeming different. That silence, however, can turn into frustration after marriage if desires and needs remain unspoken. This is often even more complicated for couples who share a faith, where certain interests might be dismissed as inappropriate or unchristian without fair conversation. Yet, when both partners commit to mutual respect, open dialogue, and trust, creating a satisfying, loving physical connection is absolutely possible. Understanding that intimate oral affection doesn't have to follow a script or happen only in certain places can be liberating. It's not something limited to quiet, formal settings like a bedroom. It can be spontaneous and playful, adding excitement and freshness whether during a long road trip, a quiet moment in a park, or even sneaking a few stolen minutes away at a wedding reception. These moments keep passion alive and remind you that connection is about creativity, attentiveness, and mutual pleasure. Ultimately, the foundation of joyful intimacy is communication, the ability to speak freely about needs and desires, to listen with love, and to act with care. When that's in place, the experience becomes less about performance and more about genuine giving and receiving of love. We continued our journey together, transitioning from the excitement of dating to the reality of marriage. Life unfolded with its many layers. Children came into our world, homes were bought and sold, careers took shape, and everyday responsibilities multiplied. Each of these blessings came with challenges, often crowding out the time and privacy once so easily shared during those early years. The rhythms of daily life, while fulfilling in their own way, have a way of diluting the intimacy that once burned so brightly between two people. It's easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of obligations, losing sight of the ongoing importance of nurturing a deep and satisfying connection. Alongside these changes, our spiritual journey deepened. We embraced faith, becoming active members of our church, and seeking wisdom from respected leaders and friends. This spiritual growth enriched our lives, but it also introduced new complexities concerning our understanding of intimacy. Conversations about what was right and wrong in the context of our newfound beliefs often brought confusion or even shame. Sometimes well-meaning advice or teachings inadvertently cast a shadow over honest discussions about sexuality, creating silence where hearts desired openness. It became clear that while spiritual guidance was vital, it needed to be balanced with grace and understanding tailored to our unique relationship. I witnessed friends, and even myself, grapple with these tensions. I had close female friends who found giving oral affection so uncomfortable or unwelcome that it gradually eroded their intimate connection with their husbands, some to the point of ceasing sexual activity altogether. On the other side, many men I know confided in my husband about feelings of inadequacy and rejection, struggling with the sense that no matter their efforts, their wives were not satisfied or interested. These stories highlight a painful reality. The absence of open and loving communication between partners often breeds frustration, loneliness, and disconnection. Marriage, as we understand it, is a commitment to a monogamous partnership emotionally, physically, and spiritually. It means that both partners rely on each other for affection, intimacy, and satisfaction. With that intimacy being exclusive, the challenges of unmet needs can become especially significant. When one spouse withdraws or refuses to engage in the physical aspects of the relationship, whether due to discomfort, emotional barriers, or lack of desire, the other may feel rejected and isolated. This dynamic can sow seeds of doubt and temptation, potentially exposing the marriage to serious risks such as emotional infidelity or betrayal. Because of this delicate balance, it is essential that both partners make intentional efforts to give to one another, not merely what they individually prefer or find convenient, but what the other truly needs to feel desired, loved, and fulfilled. This mutual cooperation requires vulnerability and a willingness to grow beyond personal limits. It demands patience, humility, and consistent dialogue. In reflecting on our own experiences and the lessons shared among couples we've respected, we coined the term intimate revolution to describe the transformation that honest communication and mutual understanding brought into our marriage. This revolution was not a grand, singular event, but a series of conversations, explorations, and shared discoveries that deepened our connection. It required us both to be truthful about our desires, fears, and boundaries, often breaking long-held patterns of silence. A major hurdle many couples face comes from the courtship phase, when people, rightly wanting to present their best selves, often hide or downplay certain preferences or quirks related to intimacy. There may be a fear of judgment or rejection, which causes these points to remain unspoken until after marriage, when it becomes more difficult to introduce new desires. This silence can trap people into years of quiet dissatisfaction, hoping for change that may never come without intentional dialogue. For those couples who embrace faith as a component of their relationship, an additional layer of complexity often arises. Certain desires or interests can be labeled as unchristian or taboo, leading to internal conflict or feelings of guilt. This can discourage open conversation and the opportunity to find ways to celebrate intimacy within a framework of respect and shared values. Focusing specifically on intimate oral affection, it's important not to fall into the misconception that it must only take place in conventional spaces like a bedroom. Limiting intimacy to routines or particular environments may unintentionally dull the excitement and spontaneity that keep passion alive. The adventure of sharing affection anywhere, whether a quiet moment in a park, a brief secret exchange in a car during a road trip, or a stolen second during a social gathering, can reignite desire and long-term connection. Ultimately, sustaining a satisfying, intimate relationship through the ups and downs of life depends on prioritizing communication, empathy, and flexibility. Recognizing that neither partner should assume full knowledge or control over what pleases the other encourages humility and openness. Exploring new experiences with mutual consent and curiosity nurtures growth, even as individual preferences evolve over time. As life continues to change, the challenges to intimacy will come and go, but the foundation built on honest conversations and shared commitment remains steadfast. By investing in this ongoing dialogue and caring deeply for one another's satisfaction, couples create a partnership that not only survives the pressures of everyday life, but flourishes, bringing joy and fulfillment well beyond the early days of romance. Delighting a woman through intimate oral affection is an art that involves much more than just technique. It requires attentiveness, patience, and a willingness to listen closely to her responses. The primary focus is often on that sensitive button of pleasure, but true enjoyment goes beyond this to embrace every part of her intimate area, including the surrounding flesh, inner thighs, and pelvis. The power of gentle, sensual kisses along these areas can evoke deep pleasure and ignite desire in ways that simple mechanical motions cannot. One of the most important things I had to communicate to my husband early on was about the experience of edging a common phenomenon where a woman approaches climax, only to feel it ebb away again before finally reaching it. This build and fall can happen multiple times during an intimate session and can be incredibly frustrating. It requires understanding and patience from both partners. When the woman is ready to approach that peak once again, it's crucial for her partner to maintain focus and avoid switching tactics. A simple, "keep doing exactly what you're doing," expressed through words and sounds, can reinforce confidence and help her cross that threshold. Communication during these moments takes many forms. Moans, whimpers, and sighs are a natural and important language. They encourage and affirm that the actions are pleasurable. Verbal cues are equally important. Phrases such as softer, harder, stay there, or move your tongue down to this spot guide the giver in a way that benefits both partners. These interactions build a dynamic where spontaneity and feedback coexist, transforming the experience from a routine to a deeply shared dance. Sometimes sheer enthusiasm can take over. I recall moments when, overwhelmed by pleasure, I would grasp his head tightly, grinding against his mouth with my heels pressed into his shoulders, my voice layered with moans, whispers, and even playful, whispered words that encouraged him to continue. Other times, I have mounted him in a passionate rhythm, riding high and feeling fully alive, lost in the sensory connection as my body moved instinctively. The intensity fluctuates, sometimes requiring gentle touch, sometimes needing encouragement and physical guidance from my husband to guide me back to that place of heightened sensitivity. His hands on my hips or lower back would pull me closer, pressing me into him and reigniting the fire. Exploring gentle insertion with fingers when welcomed can add a new dimension to the experience. The right positioning and pressure, such as curved fingers pressed just inside the opening and stimulating the soft internal flesh, can amplify sensation dramatically. Combined thoughtfully with oral affection, this combination has produced some of the most powerful and satisfying moments we've shared. Even experimenting with more sensitive areas like the anal region, approached only with trust, cleanliness, and ample lubrication, has opened up new avenues of pleasure. When done with care and mutual consent, these experiences can feel intense, immersive, and profoundly intimate. What truly sets this apart from a simple physical act is the ongoing dialogue and willingness to try new things. YouTube videos or articles can offer useful tips and hints, but no amount of instruction replaces the unique knowledge that partners gain by listening and responding to each other. Finding the spots and pressures that bring the greatest pleasure is a process that requires exploration and honesty. Adjusting the touch to be heavier or lighter, slower or more vigorous depends entirely on how she responds, and this can vary from moment to moment. The ability to adapt is key. Embracing this openness with your partner means that intimacy becomes a source of discovery and delight rather than obligation or routine. It nurtures trust and emotional closeness that go far beyond the physical. As a woman, knowing that my desires are heard and honored creates an environment where I can relax, let go, and fully experience pleasure. And when that happens, I often find myself wanting more, sometimes reaching multiple climaxes in a single session, over stretches of time rather than all at once. The sensations build and build, and my body responds with increasing hunger for connection and touch. The experience can be exhausting, yet exhilarating, with moments where I'm so overtaken by desire that I lose all inhibitions, pinching nipples, whispering dirty words, and holding him tightly, urging him to keep going. Other times, fatigue sets in, and I rely more on his strength and direction to guide me back toward pleasure. He might pull me down, aligning himself in a way that stimulates precisely what I need, blending his touch and mine into a perfect harmony. This ongoing exploration, guided by open communication and genuine care, has allowed us to deepen our connection and keep our intimacy vibrant over the years. It's not simply about performance or following instructions, but about weaving together our desires, feelings, and responses into a shared experience of pleasure and love. This is the true art of delighting a woman through oral affection, listening closely, responding lovingly, and always being willing to grow together. As men age, the dynamics of intimate affection naturally evolve, and understanding these changes is crucial for maintaining a satisfying connection. Physical responses may shift, timing may lengthen, and what once was effortless might require a bit more care and patience. For a loving partner, it's important not to take these changes personally or assume fault. Instead, open and honest conversations about preferences and comfort help both partners navigate this transition with grace and understanding. Every man is unique, and what brings pleasure or relief can vary widely from one person to another. Learning and adapting together ensures intimacy remains fulfilling and joyful. Over the years, I have discovered that my husband sometimes enjoys having his nipples gently pinched while I focus attention on more intimate areas. At other times, exploring different zones, including more sensitive spots, enhances his pleasure significantly. For example, prostate stimulation, often delivered through careful, loving massage, can produce deep sensations and heightened orgasms. This practice requires trust, cleanliness, and open communication. It is never something to be rushed or done without both partners feeling comfortable and enthusiastic. When he invites me to offer attention to such areas, it deepens our connection and expands our shared experience of pleasure. There is a subtle art in using the tongue and lips to explore, including delicate tickling around sensitive points like the sphincter. The interaction between sight, touch, and sound during these moments creates an intimate atmosphere charged with vulnerability and mutual trust. Watching his expressions, hearing his sounds of approval, and feeling his responses guide my actions and strengthen our bond. As we've grown older, the process leading to climax takes longer, but that length itself brings new intensity and awareness. The buildup becomes more deliberate and patient, and the eventual release all the more satisfying. He also produces less fluid than in our earlier years, which is natural and expected. This sometimes means that sustaining oral affection for prolonged periods can become physically tiring for me. But through trial and experience, I found that incorporating manual stimulation with my hand alongside oral care helps ease the strain on my mouth and lips. This combination also provides varied sensations and keeps the experience engaging for both of us. Adding gentle touches to other sensitive areas like his nipples or even carefully exploring anal stimulation, when mutually welcomed, enhances pleasure and connection further. On the underside of the head of the penis lies the frenulum, a highly sensitive area that responds beautifully to gentle, well-lubricated strokes, light sucking, or subtle flicks of the tongue. Focusing attention here can elevate the orgasm to new heights. One useful technique my husband taught me involves stroking the shaft with my hand in rhythm as I move my mouth up and down in sync. The key is not to just hold it passively in the mouth, but actively suck and caress it, maintaining firm but gentle pressure with the fingers around the shaft. This coordinated approach creates a pleasurable sequence that leads to an amazing climax. Sometimes I fondle his scrotum gently, while on other occasions I'll cup the skin where it attaches to the base of the penis. This area is rich with sensitive nerve endings, and responding to it without applying undue pressure adds a unique layer of pleasure. Using plenty of lubrication here and softly massaging the skin while attending to other areas can heighten his sensitivity and enjoyment. It's worth noting that these touches don't involve squeezing or discomfort, but rather a nurturing and careful embrace of those zones. The visual connection during oral affection can also have a profound impact. Making eye contact while engaged in this deeply personal act fosters intimacy and reassurance. Allowing him to see your enthusiasm and focus creates a feedback loop that encourages both partners to relax and fully engage. When you look up at him, meeting his gaze, it adds emotional depth to the physical connection and amplifies pleasure for both of you. Intimacy is never just about physical technique. It's about the emotional fabric woven through mutual attention, respect, and care. As a couple grows older together, adjusting to changes in stamina and physical responses is part of the journey. Learning to pace the experience, incorporate new methods, and sustain communication keeps the connection vibrant. It's about cherishing the shared moments, understanding the body's shifting rhythms, and continuing to explore with curiosity and love. Ultimately, these adaptations strengthen the partnership and create a sexual relationship marked by trust and lasting satisfaction. Writing this together with M by my side has been a journey of mutual learning and openness, sharing personal tips and experiences from our marriage and intimate life in the hope that other couples might find encouragement and insight has become an act of love beyond ourselves. Our story is not unique, but the honesty with which we have approached it is what we believe can make a difference. The key takeaway from our journey is the vital importance of honest communication, a living, breathing dialogue between partners about desires, boundaries, and pleasures that grows and transforms over time. It's not about perfection or having all the answers, but about the willingness to listen with compassion and respond with love. One of the most profound lessons is that no two people experience intimacy in exactly the same way. What pleases one partner might not resonate with the other, and even individual preferences can change throughout life's seasons. The ability to acknowledge this variability without judgment opens the door to deeper connection and shared joy. When you approach your partner with curiosity and empathy, asking, listening, and sometimes simply observing, you create an environment where trust can flourish. This trust invites vulnerability, which in turn leads to the most fulfilling experiences of affection. We've learned to set aside assumptions and pride, recognizing that intimacy is a collaborative exploration rather than a performance or checklist. The days of thinking we knew everything about each other's bodies and responses have long passed. Now, the excitement lies in rediscovery, in trying new things together and being open to change. This continuous evolution has breathed new life into our connection, allowing us to deepen our bond despite the inevitable challenges that aging, health issues, and life circumstances sometimes bring. Respecting each other's boundaries is paramount. Just as it is important to be willing to experiment and step outside of comfort zones, it is equally important to honor when a partner says no. Consent and mutual enthusiasm are the foundation of joyful intimacy. When limits are respected, it strengthens trust and safety, which only enhances pleasure and closeness. Physical connection is only one layer of relationship intimacy. Emotional support, shared values, laughter, and everyday kindness weave together with touch to create a full tapestry of love. The synergy of these elements makes the sexual relationship richer and more satisfying. We have found that when we nurture other parts of our partnership communication, respect, shared goals, the physical side flourishes naturally as well. For anyone seeking to deepen intimacy with their partner, our advice is to prioritize communication above all else. Create space regularly to talk about what feels good, what you want to try, and what you need less of. Use both words and nonverbal cues to express pleasure and guide each other. Celebrate successes and gently work through disappointments without blame. Remember that intimacy is a skill you develop together, one that benefits from patience, practice, and a sense of humor. As we reflect on our own experience at this stage in life, our connection is more fulfilling than ever before. We have endured seasons of health challenges and emotional stress, times when intimacy needed to take a back seat. But through each phase, our love and desire for each other deepened rather than diminished. That resilience comes from building a foundation rooted in open communication, mutual respect, and a commitment to pleasure in its many forms. Ultimately, intimacy is a gift couples give to each other every day, not just through physical touch, but through presence, understanding, and care. Sharing this part of ourselves bravely and honestly is a sacred act that strengthens the bond and brings joy beyond words. We hope that in sharing our story, others will feel inspired to embark on their own journey of discovery, embracing vulnerability and celebrating the beautiful, evolving dance of giving and receiving love.